Welcome to Grant and Guest. This is episode 5. Okay, episode 5 with my guy Connor Shaffer. Connor, what's up?
It's gone. Another day.
Another day. So, a lot of you guys probably don't know Connor, but I've known Connor since he was probably 16, 17 or so. And we made like just an instant connection through basketball. It's crazy. It's crazy how something as simple as a game like that can bring people together. But I met Connor through basketball. Connor went to West Fork, which was one of our big rivals, whatever. And then I decided after my freshman year of college that I wanted to get into coaching. And so I coached the greatest AAU team ever comprised. uh, and Connor was our 3-point shooting specialist, big man. You really were that stretch big before that was like the cool thing.
Yeah.
Uh,
I like to think that I made it the cool thing.
no, like in all honesty, there was nobody. So I'll put pictures in later, but I mean, Connor's every bit of 6'4", 6'5", maybe even a little bit taller, and everybody else his size was playing with their back to the bucket. And there was nothing that would get us amped up like Connor burying a three from the top of the key after we swung it around. It was a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun doing it and playing it. And so I got to know Connor through that, and we've kind of stayed in touch off and on throughout the years. So man, what are you up to? Like what's going on?
Really just kind of been working right now. I started going back to school
Okay.
this semester.
Good deal.
I think one thing that kind of sucked was every class that I took this semester, I took whenever I was 18.
Yep.
But I didn't care enough whenever I was 18, so I failed all the classes. And so, I mean, I even had some of the same teachers this semester that I did whenever I was 18.
That's crazy to think.
But passed all my classes.
There you go.
So that's good.
Sometimes it really does just take that like little bit of time to like put things into perspective for you and figure out, the actual work that it takes. Because everybody gets through high school like it's a breeze. Like you don't have to study. You just show up, you make the grades, they give you the diploma, and then everything's easy. And then college is like, crap, I actually have to study for this stuff a little bit and I got to work,
Yeah.
But that's good, man. I didn't know you were back in school. That's awesome to hear. So
going to summer school starting in June.
Gotcha.
I'm trying to like cut the time just as much as possible.
Yeah.
I still have like all 4 years to my degree. I'm going for business.
Okay. Gotcha.
So, and part of that was because whenever I was at home not working, I was looking for a remote job.
Yeah.
And a lot of remote jobs required like a business degree to get.
I gotcha.
And so as much as I don't want that to happen again, like all this like COVID stuff,
right.
It's good to have in your pocket, and at least that's.
You cut out there for a second, but it's fine. So is the goal for you like long term when you do get your degree? Do you want to do something where you're working remote, working from home, so you can continue to work on the stuff that like do stuff that you care about a little bit more?
I would like to work from home for sure.
Yeah.
I would really like to have my own business of some sort.
Yeah.
Like I don't really have any sort of, I guess, goal as far as like a certain kind of business.
Right. Yeah.
But I want to be a business owner at some point.
Gotcha. That's a good goal to have, and you got plenty of time to figure it out. But so the interest on the side stuff that I was talking about, that I was alluding to there. So Connor makes music, and and he's really good at it. Really one of the first people that I knew of that kind of ventured into that realm. So talk about that, plug all your stuff. I want to do the same thing, and I want to shout you out and everything like that. So talk about that and how you got interested in making music and when that all started for you.
So I think it kind of started I guess that sort of goal started whenever I was probably in 6th grade.
Dang, that's crazy.
And it was because there was all these rap songs that I just knew word for word. I could rap flawlessly, and everybody was like impressed by it. And I really liked the, people being impressed by it.
Oh yeah, of course.
I was like, okay, I'm gonna start doing this. And so whenever I did, I think I was 17, maybe 18. And, you know, at that time, there wasn't a lot of people that, you know, now it's a little bit different. Like you can go up to, you know, 10 people on the street and 8 of them are going to say that they make music.
Right.
It's not an uncommon thing anymore.
Right.
And like, that's kind of like affected my mood towards it a little bit. I'll get into that in a sec. But I started, you know, 17 and I had no idea, you know, if I knew what I knew now when I was 17,
Yeah.
maybe I'd be rich now. But you know, I was recording, I just had this app like Rap to Beats or something like that is what it was called. And then I used like the little microphone that's on like Beats headphones.
Dude, that's crazy.
And that's what I recorded with.
Dang.
And I think like you heard the first song that I made to like that 2 Chainz beat.
Yep. Yeah.
And then I did one to like Donald Trump by Mac Miller.
Yep.
I did one to a Ty Dolla $ign song.
Yeah.
It was for a while. I was kind of rolling, and you know, I bought my first real microphone. It was just a USB mic.
Yeah.
I had no idea what gain was, so the microphone was way.
Microphone was what? Sorry, you cut out there for a second.
The microphone was way too loud.
Oh, gotcha.
The gain was all the way up.
Yeah.
And I didn't know what that meant. Like,
yeah.
I played the bass guitar a little bit, like back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as like music specifics, I was never really into the specifics. I was like, I just know that I can rap and like I'm good at it.
Yeah.
So
I feel like you started at like a good time. Like you said, like, I mean, like you go up to anybody on the street, like you go on a vacation down to Florida, somebody's going to try to sell you their mixtape, you know, like that's just how it goes now. But like, I mean, you being 17, 18 years old, that's 7, 8 years ago. That's before it's what it's become now, where everybody thinks they're going to be the next big thing. But like, you got a little bit of traction with that stuff because you were still in high school. So everybody in the school was still listening to it. And it was actually like, for all the limits that you had, you know, like from knowing what you were doing, the stuff was still really good stuff. Like I remember listening to it and I was like, oh my gosh. Cause I think around the time that you played for me was around the time that you started, you know, messing around with some of that and putting stuff out.
Yeah, that was I know for a little bit I was, you know, I could bust out 2-3 songs a day.
Yeah.
You know, just record them all, one take, put them out.
Yeah.
I know some of them are still on my SoundCloud.
Yeah.
I've like made most of them private because they were just like the quality of them was bad.
Right. Yeah.
But I know there's still some of them that aren't private up there. But I think there's probably like a year, a little more than a year, probably 3 years that I didn't make anything.
So why is that? Did you get to a point where you were like almost obsessed with what you were putting out and you needed it to be a certain thing, or like why? Because I know music was, I mean, you said 6th grade. That's, I mean, you're 11, 12 years old. That's a big part of who you are. You know, you said you played a little bit of bass, like all that sort of stuff. Like why stop?
I think part of it, which I mean, I didn't stop completely. Like I still kind of like did a little bit, kind of, you know, tried to make some for myself. Yeah. Part of it was kind of that I just wasn't happy with anything.
Yeah.
I was kind of going through like a rough patch too, like personal life wise.
Yeah.
And I know like a lot of people, they're like, you know, you use that as your fuel to make music or whatever.
Right. Yeah.
But dude, it didn't do anything for me but make me like just every single day.
Yeah.
Like I didn't touch my microphone for God knows how long.
So do you think it's kind of like BS when people say that like that stuff fuels them, or do you just feel like everybody's a little bit different in that regard?
Everybody's a little bit different for sure.
Yeah.
I think it's very situational.
Yeah.
So kind of I had like my parents were separating. Just kind of not really like heartbreak stuff.
Yeah.
Because heartbreak stuff, like love stuff, easy to write songs about.
Drake got named Artist of the Decade for it. You know what I mean? So it's like, yeah, I get you.
but kind of like that more personal stuff, like it's really hard to I guess I wasn't at that point in my life where I wanted to be that vulnerable, like publicly.
Right.
So it was very hard to like kind of write about that stuff.
Yeah.
So I didn't. And
Yeah.
then on top of that, like I said, like I wasn't happy with anything. I didn't know specifics of like, you know, the mixing and mastering side of it,
Yeah.
which I'm still like, you know, working on that.
Right. Yeah.
But the really just a big part of it was like everybody started doing it.
Yeah.
Like whenever, like you said, it was a while back whenever I started doing it, and it was kind of like, you know, I was the rap guy for a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
But then everybody became the rap guy.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's almost like it's not as special of a thing anymore. And it wasn't even like I'm looking for all this attention or anything like that.
Yeah.
I just didn't feel like I was like I thought I had like a gift, I guess.
Yeah.
And
which you do. Don't lie to yourself. I mean, you yourself, but I'm not gonna lie to you. You do, like, you are very talented, and I wouldn't just say that. Like, but I mean, I get that. I really do, because like it's one of those things is, you know, you kind of you become like the rap guy or the Twitter guy or the this guy or something like that, and it kind of, and then when you're not, it kind of hits you hard.
yeah.
But,
I mean, it's kind of like you know, in a perspective like a basketball.
right.
Like you're the guy on the team that's like the 3-point shooter, and
Yeah.
then they get 4 more people on the team that are the 3-point shooters, and you're like, yo, what the hell? Like I'm
Yeah.
the 3-point shooter.
Right. This is supposed to be me. Like, this is supposed to be me. This was gonna be it. This is what I thought it was gonna be. You know?
Mm,
And like, I know, and it's evident from what you said, like you didn't set out to, you know, like to like blow up and be like, I mean, music was just like a release thing for you, like kind of like a coping mechanism of a sort. And then it does gain that popularity. And when it's something that you kind of started doing, you know, a little more casual, and then people start listening, then you start caring a little bit more. And when it becomes oversaturated like that, it becomes really tough for you, because you went
yeah.
from like you were gaining a lot of traction going forward, and then you know, and then it just kind of stops.
I think, which this is something I realized recently,
Mm-hmm.
a big part of it was like, you know, I was rapping. That's what I was always like since 6th grade. Like I was the rapper.
Yeah.
And I think it wasn't really till like maybe like a year ago
Yeah.
that I just kind of stopped, and I was like, I don't really like rap music that much.
That's crazy. Yeah.
Like I used to listen to it all the time, like J. Cole, Logic,
Yeah.
Kendrick Lamar, all that stuff. Dude, I can't listen to that anymore. It's
Yeah.
just, it's not that I don't like it necessarily.
Yeah.
It's just boring
Yeah.
to me.
You
Like,
you feel like you've transitioned to a point where you like to listen to stuff that's a little more meaningful? Or, I mean, not saying that any of those dudes' stuff isn't meaningful, because it is, but it's just like, I mean, I kind of get what you're saying. I'm kind of the same way. I don't listen to nearly as much rap music as I used to.
right. Like it's like I listen to NF a lot.
Mm-hmm. Loving it.
I listen to Token a lot. I don't know if you ever heard of him.
I haven't.
But kind of, it's very, very small circle of actual rappers that I listen to.
Yeah.
I kind of evolved into more melodic kind of,
Yeah.
like I really like Juice World.
Yep.
I really like Lil Peep.
RIP.
RIP also.
Crazy. Crazy.
It is crazy. That's
It really is. It really is. RIP Juice, RIP Mac Miller. Like, man, like Mac Miller was like one of my like idols, like growing up. Like I was like,
Yeah.
I still listen to it. Like I remember, like you're a little bit younger than me, but like I don't, like every away game I went to, Mac Miller was in my headphones. Every away game we went to, it didn't matter what song it was. It's like it would get me so amped up, and some of it didn't even, like, none of it related to basketball at all, but it would get me so amped up just like listening to it. But yeah, it really is crazy. But
I've kind of evolved right now into like I've never made any sort of music like what I am like now.
yeah.
It's very rock based.
Really?
Like,
I'll
yeah,
have to check it out. I'll be honest, hand up. I haven't checked out your new stuff lately, which that's on me as a friend. I'm sorry, but I'm gonna check it out. And I'm a plug your. Is it all on SoundCloud?
mostly, yeah.
All right, I'm
I
gonna
think
plug it. I'm gonna plug it and hopefully direct some people there because I know you and I know your talent level and I know it's got to be good stuff.
I'll have to send you like a little snippet. I haven't had like I haven't actually like released anything in a little bit. I did a cover like a couple weeks ago
Yeah.
that I did put on YouTube. That's
Yeah.
not on SoundCloud, it's on YouTube.
Okay.
But yeah,
I'll have
I'm
to
definitely
I'll
pumped
have to
about it.
put I'll have to put the link in that and I'll have to check it out. I'd love to like debut something that you haven't released like on here, like a little track or whatever. That'd be pretty sick.
Yeah,
Be pretty
that
sick.
would be sick for sure.
But so you've kind of transitioned in the last couple of years from, you know, being the rap guy, last few years, I guess, from being the rap guy to kind of, you know, like diversifying your interests and everything like that. But on a personal level, so the reason that I wanted to have you on and I probably didn't do a good enough job of this in the intro, but the reason that I wanted to have you on is because I really like find your story to be so incredibly interesting. And when you reached out to me and you were like, "Hey, I want to come on," I was like, "Heck yeah." Like just because like I know how tough from what I've seen, like I know how tough the last couple years have been for you. I mean, you've had everything under the sun going on. So I mean, talk about that kind of stuff. Talk about the weight loss journey. Talk about you know, I mean, you were in the hospital not that long ago, and we're in there for a while. Like, kind of start with the weight loss thing, and then let's kind of go from there.
So I guess I'll start with I was very unhealthy.
Yeah,
Like, you know,
you've
I
always
was,
been a big guy. I mean, you're 6'5". Like, it's like that's a big frame, you know, just
yeah,
naturally. So,
but there's like, even when I played basketball and stuff, like, I didn't take care of myself.
mhm.
Like, I would be relatively like physical or
Yeah,
active in basketball,
yeah,
but outside of basketball, like, I didn't do anything to better myself. Like, I ate like crap.
yeah,
Just, and then once, it was probably whenever I was 23. I think it started when I was 21. Like, I don't know what it was.
yeah,
I just drank all the time,
yeah,
like a ridiculous amount. It was, which like I still drink some today, like
yeah,
now,
yeah.
but it's not like I was then. I was kind of more using it as like a mental block.
Right, right.
Like, and so I would go to work, I would come back, start off drinking like 6 beers as soon as I got home.
Mhm.
And then I'd usually drink like 2 or 3, 4 locos a night.
Man,
I know there was a while like I would go through like a fifth a night of like New Amsterdam pineapple.
yeah,
Uh, and I went out to Dixon one night and just very, very bad experience.
yeah,
Uh, it was like I ended up like waking up $250 gone. Uh,
yeah,
don't know what happened. Swollen ankle, like got a knot on my head.
yeah,
No idea what happened. And I was like, dude, I was like, why do I do this?
yeah.
And
Was that the moment for you? Was that when it clicked, or it takes?
so a little bit,
Yeah,
it kind of had something to do with this,
yeah,
but I would say like a week and a half or so after that,
yeah,
I was working and just started having these pains in my chest.
yeah.
And I'm like, dude, this is like, it's like I can't stand up. It's like hurting so bad.
Man,
So I'm talking to my mom about it, and she's like, well, if it doesn't go away, like we're gonna have to go, we're gonna have to go to the ER.
yeah,
So later that night, they still didn't go away. Of course, you're thinking like I'm about to have a heart attack.
right, yeah,
So we go to the ER and they start doing some tests and stuff, and they didn't really find anything. They put me on a heart monitor for a few days,
yeah,
It was just a little heart monitor. Anytime I had any sort of pain, it had a button that I needed to press.
Yeah.
And so I wore that for a few days. And that was whenever I was like, all right, like I got to do something.
Was that when you were like at your heaviest? Was that?
Yeah. I was probably, I didn't weigh myself before I started.
Yeah.
Just because it was one of those things like, I don't want to know.
Right. You didn't
I was.
know, because I mean you've been an athlete your whole life. You know, you played like you played basketball. Like even if you said you didn't take great care of yourself, it's like that was part of who you were in high school. It's like you were the kid that rapped and you played basketball. And so I definitely get that, not wanting to step on the scale and be like, dang, like this is how bad it actually got.
Yeah.
If you
But
had
I know
if you had to guess, what would you say?
at least 360.
Man, crazy.
At least 360.
Crazy.
Um,
What do you weigh now?
right now 220.
That's pretty good. That's
Yeah.
I know you got down a little bit lower than that, but I know you've been actually like working out with it. Naturally, you're gonna gain that sort of stuff too. So,
Yeah.
so that's when so that hospital visit, that heart monitor, everything, that's when it clicked for you.
Yeah, that's kind of whenever it clicked.
Yeah. So then like what's next? Because I'm sure that had to have been like pretty close to you being at your darkest, like the toughest spot for you.
Yeah, for sure. It was so kind of at that point I was like, something needs to change.
Yeah.
And I had a friend named Kellen, and he was kind of in the same situation, not necessarily like hospital stuff, but he was a bigger dude.
Yeah.
And he decided to go on do keto, and he lost like 100 pounds.
Dang.
And I was like, this is wild. I got to try to do this.
Yeah.
And so that's what I did. And I think I didn't know, like, I wasn't stepping on the scale or anything. I didn't even have a scale in my house.
Right. Yeah.
I came to my mom's house one day. I stepped on the scale, and I think I was like 344. And I was like, oh, that's crazy.
And that change was just from changing your diet, from just going on. That was it.
Yeah, I didn't work out at all, like in that year's time.
Yeah.
But the work that I did was kind of like a little bit physical, but like I didn't necessarily do anything active.
Right. Yeah.
And so I did that keto for like I lost 90 pounds in the first 3 months.
Oh my God, man. That's insane.
Yeah.
Insane.
Like you definitely shouldn't lose that much.
But I mean, shout out to you for like doing it and sticking to that. Cause I think that's the hardest thing with like people our age is like sticking to a diet once life slows down. Cause we've all been playing sports our whole entire life. So that metabolism like keeps all that stuff off. And then it slows down, and naturally, like, everybody drinks a little bit, and then, that affects it too. But man, 90 pounds in 3 months, that's nuts.
And so I lost that 90 pounds in 3 months. So that put me at 260.
Yeah.
Something like that, if my math is two.
That's okay. I didn't bring you on here to do math. That's not what it's
But lost that weight, and like I was like finally starting to kind of like, for the first time like maybe ever, like kind of feeling good about myself. Like I'm looking in the mirror and I'm like, all right, like this is okay.
So you got to a point where it's like I mean, you're like literally looking in the mirror and you're like, okay, I kind of like this version of myself.
Yeah, for sure.
Did you
especially
did you before you lost that weight, did you did you look in the mirror and hate yourself? Like,
oh yeah every day. But it was just kind of like one of those things, like whenever part of that was I didn't have anything at all that I was looking forward to.
Right. Yeah.
Like I honestly, I wasn't worried about school or anything, because I really wasn't planning on like living till like 30.
Dang.
So it was like I just didn't look forward to anything. I was just kind of going until it stopped eventually.
Right.
But so finally, like I'm at this point where I'm like looking in the mirror, I'm feeling all right about myself.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I got to keep going. I got to keep going. I got to keep going.
Absolutely.
And it kind of got to like almost like an obsession, I would say.
Yeah.
Like
But I
losing weight
don't,
was an obsession.
yeah, I don't feel like that's the worst obsession you could have though. But
It's not the worst obsession until it starts to become like too much.
yeah.
Which I didn't never really get down to like that too much part.
Yeah.
Like unintentionally, the lowest I got down to was like 180.
Yeah.
Or intentionally, that was the
Yeah.
lowest I got down to.
Yeah.
Like I always told myself like I'd get down to 220 or 210 or whatever, and then I start chilling. But I'm like, every time I saw a pound go up, I'm like, nah, I wouldn't eat. I'd like start not eating and stuff like that.
Yeah. So then it almost becomes unhealthy in the other way. Like you've been working so hard to be healthy that it almost becomes unhealthy.
Right.
Did you feel like there was a completely different like mental struggle that went on once you got below kind of like where you wanted to be? Like once you got below that like 220, whatever, you had lost all that weight and everything, and you were happy at a point with what you were seeing, and then it got to a point where you were like almost nitpicking yourself, and then you weren't happy again.
Dude, I was very like, it definitely kind of got to that.
Yeah.
Because once I got to like a weight that I wanted to be at,
Mm-hmm.
I would look and losing all that weight, like I got extra skin, like
Yeah, of course.
extra flab, stuff like that. And like it just like it doesn't look good. Like so I would look in the mirror and I'm still like, dude, I'm fat, like just seeing all this stuff that I'm just not happy with.
Right.
And it's nothing that I really have control over in that sense.
Yeah, 100%.
But it's kind of like a body, I think it's like body dysmorphia is what it's called.
Yeah.
Like you're just constantly looking and that like you're just seeing the worst.
You're always seeing the worst. Like your brain convinces yourself that like the like whole person that you lost worth of weight is like not enough,
Right.
which is absolutely insane, but that's the way that your brain works sometimes. That's why people struggle with with depression and anxiety and everything like that. Like it all ties into a lot of times your brain telling you some sort of it's perceiving things as one way when reality is a completely different thing.
Yeah.
But
and so I finally like took myself off of keto.
Yeah.
Because like it's kind of a conversation I've been having with somebody recently. Like,
Yeah.
You're trying to be healthy, but you can't get too caught up on that because you're trying to be healthy so you can live a good life.
Right.
Like I'm trying to be healthy so like I can drink, a 12 pack on the weekends.
Right. And so you can make it to 30,
Yeah.
It's like, something that you didn't think was going to happen not that long ago within the span of the last, 3-4 years. And then now it's like, okay, like I'm going to make it. Like I'm going to make it. Like it's been tough as hell, but like I'm going to make it,
Yeah.
But that's crazy. But, I 100% get where you're coming from with that. And I think it's, I think it's crazy that you're where you're at now, but in that process of like taking yourself off of keto, like I feel like it brings together both worlds of I've worked really hard to lose weight and then now I'm happy. So like, you're actually like, you're doing the things that you want to do. You can drink a little bit on the weekends. You can, have a couple meals a week where, you're kind of eating like crap and everything like that. And that's so much better of a place to be in mentally than, before where it was like, oh my God, I've got to count every single calorie and I can't do this and I can't do that. And
right.
Yeah.
Like, for a while, like I had an app. I was tracking everything that went in my body on an app.
Yep. Yep.
And so like, I kind of like mentally still track it just so I like don't go over.
Right. Yeah, of course.
But, like went to Sassy's yesterday.
Yeah.
Had some nachos, couple Bloody Marys, whatever. Like I'm not gonna like restrict everything like every single day because that's like it's gonna get to the point where you're so focused on chasing what you want that you're just not gonna be happy. You're like basically chasing it for no reason.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's really cool that you've gotten to that point where you're actually allowing yourself to be happy in like all aspects of life, like not just like, oh, I've lost a whole bunch of weight. and I'm doing this good stuff, but I'm not having any, like, I can't go and have fun. Like, I can't go and like
Right.
my buddies. I can't go in, like I can't go and eat a full plate of nachos. I think it's cool that you're finding that balance. But so I want to transition. Obviously, we talked about that for a while, but I know that that's a big part of your story, and I know that that's something that you struggle with for a really long time, and to see the way that you've overcome it is freaking awesome, man. It really is. But so you were in the hospital last year.
Yeah.
So I'll probably butcher this. I looked it up. I wanted to make sure, but Guillain-Barré syndrome, is that right? Did I say it right?
Yeah. Guillain-Barré.
Guillain-Barré. Okay, so a lot. You made it a lot easier, but yeah, you're gonna know it. But so about a year ago, Connor was hospitalized, and I saw this stuff on Instagram when you posted about it, and I knew immediately what it was, like, just because. So Guillain-Barré is a disease that where your immune system attacks your nervous system, from as best as I understand, and it's the same thing that the Cowboys center Travis Frederick was diagnosed with in 2018, which caused him to miss the entire season. He played one more year after that, and then is now retired from the NFL at the age of 30. So, like, talk to me for a couple minutes about like what that is, how you ended it, like how'd you end up in the hospital in the first place, like what was going on, all that sort of stuff, and then kind of like what like how you've overcome that and everything that you've got going on now.
So I guess it just kind of started. I woke up one day and my shoulder just felt like I slept on it wrong.
Yeah.
It was nothing out of the ordinary, nothing I haven't felt before.
Right.
Go to work, and about midway through the day, like, shoulder still goes by now.
Yeah.
But just kind of like bodily feeling very like weak.
Yeah.
My legs kind of starting to get sore, like I'm feeling nauseous. Like
Yeah.
I never passed out before, but that's what I would imagine it feels like before you're about to pass out.
Yeah.
So I finished off the work day. By the time like I got to my last job, I had to have my assistant do the work for me just because I legit couldn't.
Yeah.
I just didn't have the strength to.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And then like I went to go get a beer after work, grabbed the can, and I was like, it's warm. Why is this can warm? Grabbed another one, and that's like whenever I realized I just could not feel any sort of temperature.
Oh my
in
God.
my hands. And so I went home. I told my roommate, I'm like, Greg, I can't feel temperature in my hands.
Yeah.
Like I felt weird all day and I can't feel any temperature.
Yeah.
And he's like, do I need to take you to the hospital? I was like, no, I'm just gonna chill, go to bed, sleep it off. Yeah.
Yeah.
Woke up the next morning and I'm like, it's worse. Like not a chance.
Yeah.
And I never called into work. Like,
right. Yeah.
I worked 3.5 years, never called into work. So whenever I called my boss and I was like, dude, I can't come in, sorry. But like he knew something was up.
Right.
So went to the ER, of course, like with all the COVID stuff. This was at like the beginning of September.
Oh, okay.
And at the beginning of it was with all the COVID stuff, they put me in an isolation room.
Yeah.
And like I walked into the ER, weak, but I walked into the ER. They started doing a bunch of tests. They did tests I ain't even heard of that they were like just pulling up out of the book.
Yeah.
And I'd say after about 4 hours, like I couldn't stand up anymore.
Oh my gosh.
Like I just completely lost the ability to like hold myself up.
Yeah.
And so I think they did tests for about 8 hours, and they were finally the tests were more so an eliminating kind of thing.
Right. Yeah.
Like we're not trying to figure out what it is. We're trying to figure out what it's not.
It's not. Yeah.
So they're like, you're gonna stay overnight here. This is what we think it is. They're like, we think it's this Guillain-Barré.
Yeah.
And so stayed overnight, and I think I still couldn't like stand up.
Yeah.
I could eat a little bit. I could kind of move my hands, like I could open them and close them, but I couldn't really move my arms that much.
Yeah.
And I think it was after about 4 or 5 days, maybe, they did this breathing test on me, and it just like wasn't.
Like 4 to 5 days, like straight being in the hospital. Like you had
Yeah.
to, oh my gosh.
They did this breathing test on me, which they did every day, like a few times a day.
Yeah.
And they did it at night. I was on FaceTime with some of my friends,
Yeah.
and they gave me the breathing test, and they're like, hey, it's like, your breathing tests don't look good. We're going to move you down to ICU. So I got moved down to ICU that night. And then the next day, like just later on in the day, I just like my lungs stopped working. I stopped breathing. They, of course, knocked me out, intubated me.
Oh my God.
And from what I understand, I woke up for like a couple of minutes one time, and I just remember the feeling. It's like I swallowed a baseball bat. Like that's what it felt like. That was just like all the way down. It's just a baseball bat.
I shouldn't laugh, but that was kind of funny. I'm not gonna lie.
That's like the best analogy I can think.
No, I get it. Yeah, it makes sense. Now that I'm thinking about it, it makes my throat hurt. So,
but I woke up, and of course, like I'm like, what's going on? What is this? I start freaking out, and I'm trying to like cough this thing up. Yeah, and I'm trying to rip it out, but they have me restrained to the bed, so I wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
And then I went back to sleep for I think like another couple days.
Man.
And then whenever I woke up, like finally, like I was unable to move anything. Like I could kind of move my head around, but anything like here down was like.
Did you think you were paralyzed? Like what's going through your head? Like I know you're in and out of consciousness really, but like what is going through your head at that time?
Really, I'm like, I don't really know what was going through my head.
Yeah.
You know, of course I woke up and then my lungs were just like balloons because, you know, I was not breathing at all. The machine was breathing for me completely. So I'm like, what is this? You know, I don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
I just know I can't move.
Yeah.
Definitely a lot of just weird thoughts.
Oh yeah, I bet.
Like kind of why is this happening?
Right, because I mean, dude, I can't even imagine. Like that's where like the mental struggle that comes, like you had spent the last 3 years working so hard to like lose all this weight and be healthy and everything like that, and then you're back in the hospital, kind of where a lot of your journey kind of started. Like it kind of almost is like a full circle moment. It's like, holy crap, the last time I was in here, I was incredibly unhealthy. Now I'm healthy and I'm back in here and I'm in worse shape than I was before. Like I can't imagine how tough that would be mentally. Like once you did come to consciousness and they got you out of ICU and all that stuff.
But yeah, it was definitely like, they're coming in there, and at the time, like I turned 25 when I was in the hospital. So I was, 24, 25.
I remember that. I remember wishing you happy birthday while you were in the hospital. Like,
so I'm like this, healthy 24, 25-year-old dude who literally like can't move a muscle.
Yeah.
And I guess that's kind of like the thing, like you said, like I'm healthy. Why is this happening?
Right.
Like I did all this. I was so close to being able to dunk.
Yeah.
Like I don't know why this is going on.
Yeah.
So when the doctor would come in and like literally, can you lift your hand up? And then I'm just sitting there trying and it's not moving at all. Yeah. That's like kind of where the mental thing
struggle
would start.
Yeah. So how long were you in the hospital for total? Like from that first day or night you went to the ER, how long were you in the hospital total?
I went in September 3rd.
Yep.
And I got out like the back half of November.
Oh my gosh. That's insane. And this whole time, are they telling you that it's Guillain-Barré?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
yeah, go ahead.
I was at Washington Regional at first.
Yeah.
And then they're like, we're going to take you to this critical care center.
Yeah.
And I think I was at Washington Regional when they took like the intubated thing out. Yeah. And they put a trach in me.
Yeah.
And then they moved me to a critical care center in Springdale.
Yeah.
That place sucked, bro. Like there's a few people that I did like there.
Yeah.
Especially like the night crew people.
Yeah.
but it was just so much more like a prison
Yeah.
than either of the other hospitals were.
I can't even imagine. So you're going through the middle of this in like mid pandemic, like when like in September, nobody really had any answers. Like it was like there's going to be a vaccine and blah, blah, blah. Not even like, I don't want to get into that too much, but like, I know how it's been because I had family members that were in the hospital and stuff. Is like, you're in there and you're like fighting for your life in a way that you never have before, and you're alone.
Yeah.
Like talk about that. Like I do want to like I do want you to finish kind of like how your story goes and like what it's been like since then. And but like talk about that. Like having to go through something like that alone is not something anybody should ever have to do.
No, and it was rough for sure.
Yeah.
Because like, you're always in one of those situations, like one of those situations weekly is going to come up that you're just like, I need to talk to somebody.
Oh yeah.
I need to, I just need somebody with me. Like, I don't want to be by myself right now.
Right.
But, I had these nurses, but as far as like, people I wanted around me, like I didn't have that.
Right.
And whenever I was intubated, like I couldn't talk.
Yeah.
Like for the first month I was in the hospital, like I didn't say a word.
That's insane.
So, people had to it was very frustrating. Some people were pretty good at reading lips. Some people were very bad at it.
Yeah.
So like, I'd be trying to like maybe say something important and they just can't understand me.
Yeah.
So that's frustrating. But really, kind of, it was one of the first times that of course, the first time like I've been in a situation like that.
Right.
But
yeah.
I always thought like, somebody would be there in those situations.
Yeah.
And so for there to not be, I did have a window at my room. So like they could come visit and like look through the window.
Yeah.
And I'd be on FaceTime or something.
Yeah.
But it was never really the same as far as that.
Yeah. I can't imagine. I mean, it had to have felt like you were fighting that fight alone.
It did for sure.
Yeah. But that's not saying that you don't have a lot of people that love you. Like it just was
right.
it was the timing of everything just being bad, and like kind of like goes back to what you were saying. It's like, why is this happening? Like why did this happen in the middle of a global pandemic where people can't come and see me and hang out and say hi? Like even if you can't talk, like just the physical presence of somebody else does so much for you mentally. Because I know that struggle, man. Like I remember going through college and being at those dark places and stuff, and it was like I just wanted somebody to come and sit and hang out with me. Like it wasn't even that I necessarily talk. Like half the time my buddies would come over and we just sit there on our phones together. And if I could get that time back, I would. But like it was just a matter of just having somebody else with you, and to go through that by yourself, like, man, I can't even imagine. But
yeah, I would say it was good. I was able, whenever I did get transferred from ICU to the hospital in Springdale.
Yeah.
They did let my mom and dad come in for like the last hour that I was at Washington Regional.
Yeah.
And so like I got to see them then.
That's good. Yeah.
And then like I said, whenever I got to Springdale, it was at Northwest.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
On the like 6th floor or something like that.
Yeah.
And dude, it was just like I'm looking at those like white like cinder block walls that are in the schools.
Yes.
That's what I'm looking at all day.
Man.
It's like the people weren't as friendly.
Yeah.
Like there was people I did get along with, but just like as a whole, there was people that weren't as friendly.
Yeah.
But there was definitely like a select few people that helped escalate my recovery, I guess.
Right. So while you're there at Springdale, did you go through like physical therapy there, or did you get discharged from the hospital and then you started doing physical therapy on your own, or what did that look like? Because I know from what I saw, I mean, like you had to like essentially almost relearn how to do some things. Like
yeah. So my body was not used to movement yet whenever I was at Springdale.
Yeah.
but that's kind of where they were like, we're going to try to get your body just used to like not being in a laying down position anymore.
Right. Yeah.
So like the first time that they moved me over to this chair out of this bed, like my heart rate got up to like almost 300.
Oh my God.
And they were like, okay, back to bed.
Yeah.
And I would say I did physical therapy like 30 minutes a day, probably.
Yeah.
And a lot of it was literally just lifting your arm up whenever you could, just getting movement at all.
Yeah.
Staying seated, sitting upright, just doing that, like I would get sick.
Yeah.
And then it was just one kind of moment one day, like I was on FaceTime with my dad and I was talking to him.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was my birthday on the 3rd. So like a month after I went into the hospital.
Yeah.
That they put that thing in my trach and I was able to like talk again.
Yeah.
I sounded like a Batman, but like I was making words.
Right. Yeah. For the first
time in a month.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I think it was a little bit like a few days past that probably. I was talking to my dad on FaceTime and I'm trying to move like my body parts all the time.
Yeah.
And I just flipped my hand over.
Yeah.
And I was freaking out.
Yeah.
I was like, Dad, look at this. Like, I'm like flipping it back and forth.
Yeah.
And like, I mean, it's crazy to think about, you're that excited just being able to flip your hand over.
Right. But I mean,
that's the most movement that I did in over a month.
Yeah. But I mean, for you, that moment was huge. And I think it's really cool that you have like that one specific moment that you're able to remember from that, where it was like, okay, like I'm going to make it out of the woods. Like that had to have been the moment where it was like I'm gonna be all right. I'm gonna get this. I'm gonna, because that kind of goes back to, being brought up as an athlete and always having played sports and stuff, is like, you got to overcome adversity. Like you gotta find a way to battle through it. It doesn't matter how shitty, sorry, I shouldn't have cussed, but it doesn't matter how bad the situation is, it's like you got to come back from that, and like something as simple as this is like, that's your moment that it's like, dang, like I'm gonna be all right.
Yeah. And there was, definitely times where, the not so good thoughts like go through your head, like in those situations, like whenever I'm sitting there, like I'm having to breathe on a ventilator all day. I can't move. I'm doing literally nothing. I can't sleep.
Yeah.
It's
dark. Everything's dark.
But I finally got, it was whenever I flipped my hand over, like things slowly started coming back.
Yeah.
Like I was able to like lift my arms up after like a week. I have a picture, I think, on my Facebook or Instagram, maybe both.
Yeah.
Of like the first time that I like lifted both my arms up.
Yeah.
But
that's a big moment, and it's something that you have to like keep into perspective, especially with where you're at now. It's like, I mean, dude, that was 6 months ago,
Yeah.
When you really think about it, I was wrong on the timeline. I thought it was like a year ago, and, COVID year makes everything feel a lot longer ago. But, I mean, that's where you were at 6 months ago. And then now here you are. It really is crazy. But
so from there, I had this respiratory therapist. The doctor was trying to like kind of keep things slow.
Yeah.
But she saw I was starting to recover faster now.
Yeah.
And like as far as my ability to breathe.
Mm-hmm.
And so whenever she was supposed to put me back on the ventilator, she wouldn't. She would just let me sleep off of the ventilator.
Yeah.
And then because I was being recorded the entire time. There was a camera on me the entire time I was there. I had the heart monitors and stuff like that. So whenever she wouldn't put me back on the ventilator and then I would do fine, breathing overnight, that's when they were like, okay, they finally, I think they took this trach out, put a smaller one in, and then the day after that, they took it out completely.
I think it's really cool that you had somebody like a nurse, like in your corner that was like, okay, like I know that he can do this. Like, it's just one of those things. It's like your body, as much as it betrayed you, during that time period, it's like your body still is something that's really crazy in the way that it works and its ability to recover and everything like that. And she saw that, and then like probably knew you well enough as a person at that point, because you've been there for a while, where it was like, okay, like I believe in Connor. Like I know he can do this, and he's gonna be fine.
Right.
But,
And they like didn't really know, a lot of the nurses and stuff didn't know a lot about like Guillain-Barré.
yeah.
And most of the time that they did, it was older people, like elderly people.
Right. Yeah. Not something that's
So
affecting somebody who's 25.
right.
Yeah.
So they're like, I mean, you have a cold.
Right.
You ask somebody, am I going to feel better? Like, am I going to be back to normal? They're going to say, yeah, you're going to be back to normal.
Yeah.
But whenever I'm the one, like, asking people, am I going to be back to normal? And they can't say, like, for sure, yeah, you're going to be back to normal.
Yeah.
Like, you start thinking about your life whenever, like, not being able to, like, walk.
Yeah.
It's like, am I going to be able to do all this stuff in a wheelchair, like, in case that happens?
Right. Yeah.
And
those are the same thing, like what we were talking about. Those are dark thoughts. Like it's
yeah,
like am I gonna like I mean am I gonna be able, like, am I gonna like have to play wheelchair basketball? It's like dang, like like you don't want to have to think that, but you're forced to think it because you're not able to get the answers, because nobody knows them, because it's such a like it still really is a rare thing. I think I saw
yeah.
1 in 20,000 people or something like that, which that's not very many. I think it's really not.
And
But
it doesn't always happen to the extent that it happened to me.
for you, yeah.
Like not everybody gets just their complete body shut down.
Right. Yeah.
Like sometimes they'll just kind of get some weakness, and then they have to get that weakness back, build up the strength again, whatever.
Yeah.
But I definitely kind of got the crappy end of the stick on that.
Yeah. So does it still affect you now? Like you're 6 months out, like does it still affect you now? Or because I know it's a syndrome, so I don't think it's anything that technically leaves you. But
Right. No, it doesn't. It was it doesn't affect me too much now.
okay.
A big part of kind of like going to the gym and stuff is getting like just strength back.
Right. Yeah.
Because that's what, after I left Springdale, I went to another hospital.
Yeah.
It was a rehab hospital. And basically like I just did physical therapy, occupational therapy.
Yeah.
Half the time I was awake there.
Yeah.
So I'm going from like lifting up like 1 pound dumbbells to, and like I said, like being a 6'4", like big dude.
Yeah.
Not being able to lift any more than a 1 pound dumbbell is very, very discouraging.
Oh, I'm sure. I can't imagine I'm not gonna lie, that would look pretty funny. See a like big old tall dude in there or whatever, and he's got his little 1 pound dumbbell just sitting here doing whatever.
It felt ridiculous, but I mean, it was just kind of like I said, I can't help it.
Right. Yeah.
And so whenever I left there, I was there for like a month and a half around. And whenever I got released, I actually like told them, they're like, I think it will benefit you to stay here longer. And I was like, okay, that's fine. So I stayed like an extra like 2 weeks longer than I should have.
Yeah.
But when I got out, I was walking, but on a walker.
Yeah.
But I kind of quickly started weaning myself off of that walker.
Yeah, because you don't want to be on that. Like
right. Like I was happy to not be in a wheelchair for sure.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
But I kind of started walking like around my dad's house. That's where I went when I got out.
Yeah.
Started walking around my dad's house, just, holding on to walls.
Yeah.
And walking without just having to have that.
Yeah.
And I think I pretty much completely kicked the walker at like less than a month after I got out.
That's good. But I mean, it really is just that, like, I mean, when something like that happens to you, it's just a process of like literally getting that strength back, Yeah. It's like, I mean, your muscles atrophy because you hadn't used them in so long. And so you've got to get that back. Cause the same thing happened to me when I broke my ankle. Like, obviously, like, it wasn't like my whole body didn't shut down, but like, my calf muscle was about this big around because I hadn't used it in like months. And that's the same that's the same sort of thing that had to have happened in your situation too. But
Yeah.
man, it's crazy that you overcame like all that and got to the point and got back to where you were like walking and going to the gym and doing any of that stuff, you know?
Yeah. I
But
had to get back to putting like weight on too.
yeah.
Because I got down to 140 in the hospital.
Oh my gosh. 140 pounds on a 6'4" frame. It just there's nothing healthy about that.
No, no, not at all.
So I get that. And man, it's really awesome to see where you're at now. But we'll wrap up here. So last thing. So, you know, like obviously you've been through a lot the last couple of years, you know, ups and downs, dark places, bright spots, everything like that. If you could give one piece of advice to anybody that's struggling with anything right now, what would it be? I know that's like a cliche kind of question, but
Yeah.
everybody goes through those dark spots. Like what helped you? What advice would you give to somebody else?
Well, I've still kind of like been, kind of struggling with that, like some myself too.
Right. Yeah.
I feel like what's helped me the most is just doing what you want to do.
Yeah.
Like you're not worried about what anybody else is thinking.
Right.
Like you just do whatever you want to do. You do what makes you happy. Like it's very difficult to like think otherwise, like think other than negative thoughts sometimes.
Yeah.
But I've been going, instead of turning the lights off and going to sleep at 6 o'clock, like I'll go out and do something.
Yeah.
I'll go watch basketball or baseball at JJ's or something.
Yeah.
Instead of just sitting around, just kind of keeping myself busy. Not being such a pessimist, which is kind of hard to. It's hard to do whenever you do have that mindset, but look more into the positive of things.
Yeah, absolutely. That's awesome, man. And well, so Connor, thank you, man, for coming on for real. I really appreciate you. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to share your story and kind of what you've been through in the last few years. And I really appreciate you, man, and keep grinding for real.
I appreciate you having me on. Let me, talk a little bit, vent out some of the stuff.
No, absolutely. No, I mean it's been awesome, man. Thank you so much for real. But all right, this is the end of the show, episode 5 with Connor Shaffer. Go check out his SoundCloud. I'll plug the Instagram and the Twitter. Go give him a follow. Tweet some of his thoughts from there as well. Definitely a good follow. But thanks again, man, for real. And I will talk to you again soon.
All right, sounds good. See you.
All right, see you, man.